All right, I am recording. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Solution Provider webinar series, Selling Your Solution, Selling Your Social Media Services. Boy, I tripped all over that. Turn social media channel management into a recurring revenue generator. Want to call attention to what I've got on the slide there. Today's webinar is being recorded. We're going to share a copy of the recording with you. We've got a lot of content for you today. Want to get right into the introductions. I'm excited to have the panelists that I have today. These are great people I know personally, and hopefully many of you know these folks. We're gonna have them introduce themselves and introduce their companies, but I want to welcome Tracy Auclair and Aaron Wesley Means. Tracy, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me on the show today. So you want me to go ahead and get right into my introduction?
Yeah, tell me about Talk Media.
Sure. So I've owned Talk Media for approximately 8 years. I've been a solutions provider for Constant Contact since June of 2012. We offer content marketing with social first, and then we also do WordPress websites and a couple other products mixed around digital marketing. So we're a digital marketing agency.
And they can communicate to you at Talk Media there. You should be able to see your handle. Aaron Wesley Means in the Carolinas. Are you in the Carolinas today, Aaron?
I am somewhere in the Carolinas, Matthew.
Somewhere in the Carolinas. That's pretty much your going thing, right? Tell us about Activate.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to make sure my audio is still okay. I heard a little chirp there.
Yeah, you're sounding all right.
Okay, yeah, it'll come back. So yeah, I am driving back from a social media seminar. We'll get into that during the answers, but I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
And it sounds like we've had our first drop out there. You're from Asheville.
Boy, that's Murphy's Law, isn't it, right there?
Yeah. So you're from Asheville. How long have you been running Activate?
About 6 years now. I've been working to Activate with all the small businesses and nonprofits throughout the Carolinas and beyond.
Now let me go ahead and just explain where Aaron is in the world. So he is, as he said, just coming back from a social media seminar, just drumming up business for his social media side of the business. And as he alluded to, we're going to go into that a little bit when we talk about training packages and pricing. But do know he's on the road. As many of you are probably familiar with that life, he's on the road, and he believes that he's going to have really good cell coverage, but do know he may have occasional pops and drops, and that's just the nature of the game. I want to call attention to what I have on the slide there and welcome Aaron, and you can follow him at activate_biz, and there's my handle, by the way, at Matthew Montoya _. As I said, we are recording today's webinar. We'll get a copy to everybody, but let's go ahead and get underway. I do want to call attention, you might have seen that we are actually heavily promoting this webinar on Community. This is your chance to interact with Aaron, Tracy, me, and everyone at Constant Contact. You're going to go to join the discussion and then partner discussion. You'll find this live. We're going to make sure that we answer questions there. Now, I say that because we have so much content for you today that we may take some of your questions there. So make sure you're communicating there. We will take questions live during the webinar, though I do have the question window open, so submit those questions. If you're looking for the link to Community, I've dropped that in the chat window. Let me drop it one more time for you. There we go. All right, so you can find that using that bit.ly link, and here's the bit.ly link. I doubt any of you will write that down, but let's go ahead and get into the questions. So question number one, we're going to talk about layering. Why? So why are we even having this webinar? Is layering social media marketing into your service mix worth it, and why? And let's start with Tracy. Tracy, why do this?
Well, Talk Media is primarily a social-first company, and so for us, it just makes sense. But I think it really depends on what you're currently doing. But email and social media just seem to go together really well. There's definitely a need in the marketplace. I've seen it over the past 8 years since I've been in business, where social media works. Small businesses are doing it. Large businesses are doing it. They're seeing great results, and they just don't have the time to make it happen or the know-how. So there's definitely money there. It's just a matter of figuring out how to make it profitable.
And Aaron, Tracy's description there of her business model is almost, I believe, and you can correct me, upside down from what yours is. Your email first, social second, is that right? Is how you describe it?
Yeah, if I had to put one first, I'd say email. But at the end of the day, we're doing a whole lot of web as well. But for sure, Tracy's socially focused, and I would say I rarely lead with social services as my front runner.
And besides a lack of funds, so I can assume, and I've heard this from solution providers out there, that funding, well, let's just call it like it is, small business nonprofits, it's hard enough to pull money out of them for email marketing or search engine optimization or things like that. But besides lack of funds, what are some red flags you discover in discovery that might lead you to believe that this is not the direction you want to take them? You don't want to take them to social media. Maybe you're just going to bundle up email marketing or training or something like that. Let's start with Aaron.
Well, some of this might be funny, but the truth is funny sometimes. When I hear people that are just super negative, people that absolutely hate social media, and I don't mean people that hate it, but they laugh and then they look at their grandkids on Facebook. I mean people that come to the discussion with the mindset of it's frustrating, it doesn't work, I hate it, I don't enjoy it, I don't want to be a part of it. So you really have to be really clear and aware. If you win someone like that over, you may not be winning in the end anyway.
And Tracy, is that a similar experience for you?
I would completely agree with Aaron on that. And they have to know that they need it, and they have to know that they can't do it, and be willing, obviously, to pay for social media marketing before you're going to be able to even put them into the mindset where they're going to, hand over their hard-earned money to pay for this service.
Now, Aaron threw something out there I want to kind of jump in on, and Tracy, you can tackle this. And by the way, Carolyn, we are recording today's webinar, and Deb completely agrees with this, and this is a perfect lead into this follow-up question. Aaron brought up the fact that if somebody hates social media, you win them over, ultimately you lose. Can you, Tracy, elaborate on that concept, and then Aaron, you can throw in your color there as well.
Definitely. Well, it's the same as those negative Nancy's that are out there on the social media networks, where you can just never make them happy. And I'm sure that everybody's had that client or customer somewhere along their lifespan where they're just don't like it. And so every little thing you do is not going to be good enough. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up having a bad, I wouldn't say a bad relationship, but maybe your customer is going to have a negative experience, which is going to, haunt you a little bit throughout the marketplace.
And you got to watch that time suck, I'm sure. And I saw that message, Angela, about community being denied. I'll take a look at that a little bit later, but just go to community and follow the links. I'm going to show that again towards the end. But Aaron, is that an experience you have as well, that those negative Nancys, those naysayers, ultimately going to be a time suck?
It is, but there's another side to it, which is some people know what they don't know, and they're happy to get the help. And so if somebody just doesn't have any interest or don't enjoy Facebook, that's not a problem. The problem is if they come at it, like Tracy said, with the mentality of, I'm going to have to push this boulder uphill, and now everything's going to be scrutinized, and I got to continue to resell my client every day and prove to them this is right. But on the flip side, there's people that they know what they don't know and they're mad about it, or there's people that know what they don't know and they want help with it. And then those really people, conversely, can go the complete opposite direction. Those are the people that don't bother you. They thank you for your time. They ask you your opinion. They treat you, like a professional with insight. And so just, I want to make sure I clearly state, it's not whether they like or use Facebook or whether they use it themselves. It's more really just about that level of mindset and expectation that you feel from them when you're talking to them about it.
And I think as a connective question here, Aaron, and Tracy, you can jump in on this too. Do you feel like if you run into those people that are negative on social media as far as managing it and producing it, do you then pivot into email marketing, or is that just a red flag overall and you just kind of slowly drop this as a potential lead?
I find a lot of people either have feelings about each. So it's not necessarily combining that together. So one person may like email and open to email, whereas one person, another person may like both of them, and then so on and so forth. So I'm always promoting email because obviously it has the best return on investment. I could go on, but I'm sure everybody could go on about it.
Aaron, sounds like you had something to add there.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I sell email no matter what, because somebody's not gonna somebody's biggest fans in the world aren't going to reload the front page of their website tomorrow morning randomly over and over for no reason. And Facebook's algorithm can go up and down and can be really painful. And so at the end of the day, process of elimination says if you want to talk to them, it's in the inbox. So somebody who poo-poos social media, in a way, I definitely see that almost as an opening, like, all right, well, you can wrestle that back out of my hands. But at the end of the day, if you're not collecting and building a list, you're not actually marketing on the internet, period.
And I think that's a perfect segue into question number 2, which is, how do you integrate email marketing into your social media efforts for clients? Let's start with you, Aaron.
So, there's a great plugin from Constant Contact that connects right through and lets you put a Join My List tab in your page. But I actually would recommend looking at the action button on the Facebook page. It's become much more robust in the past year. That action button is like a Swiss Army knife, and it can be changed around to be a number of different actions. One of those is called Sign Up. So I've been encouraging and helping and executing Facebook page builds where the banner works in tandem with the Sign Up button, which works in tandem with a opt-in page. And of course, you want to incentivize, not just join my list, but why? Here's a download, here's a video, here's an entry to the sweepstakes. One of those things, and then from there you're really learning to kind of siphon people who are in your social audience right into your list.
Tracy, you took almost an opposite approach where you look like you had some challenges with tying them together. How did you integrate, or how do you integrate email marketing into your social?
Well, I love what Aaron's saying. I'm going to use those. Thank you. So yeah, we've had a hard time kind of getting people to sign up for email unless we're giving away something. So if we're giving away something, it's the same as subscribe to the email, tag a friend, share the post, so on and so forth, and then we're seeing results. But other than that, of just saying, hey, sign up for the email, it doesn't seem like people are willing to go straight from social to the email. So we use other means to do that.
And I think this fits into a question we got from the audience. Gina asked, can customer and prospect surveys, for instance, how did you find this client, etc. Do you feel like that helps both potential social media clients realize their need for email marketing?
I'm not quite sure.
And or social media. Do you feel like using surveys is one tool that either of you use surveys as a way to tie the Constant Contact product into your social media marketing?
Typically,
I have.
Go ahead.
I've helped other people.
Sounds like you dropped out. Go ahead, Tracy.
Typically, I'm using surveys. I don't really use it as a marketing tool, so to speak. I use it more for, well, I do in regards to I like the data, and then we can optimize our social media marketing or our email marketing. But really, it's just finding that data so that I can optimize our content.
Now I'm going to throw another question to both of you. We'll have Aaron answer first. This came from John, and in a summary, he was talking about just keeping up with the technology. Do either of you have any tips on where you go? Obviously, hopefully, you were watching all the training and webinars that we do from Constant Contact, but let's pivot to social media. How are you staying on top of social media?
Did you say Aaron's first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How am I staying on top of it as far as it not taking over my life because I'm managing it too much?
More technology, like, with the changes. I mean, Twitter just threw a big, fantastic change at us yesterday. How are you keeping on top of the technology changes?
Oh, gotcha. Well, I'm active on social. I hate to give a simple answer, but I find out about the Twitter thing and the tech updates because I'm following influencers, I'm following channels, I'm subscribing to updates, I've got Google alerts, and I use, Sharist. I have a tool called Sharist. I come across things and I just click a button and it snips it and saves it for me for later and kind of keeps me running smooth and up to date as much as possible.
Tracy, how are you keeping on top of it all?
Yeah, I pretty much do the same thing. I like to make sure that I'm on all networks, using it personally, not necessarily for business, just so that I know what button does, what function every button does, and then see how things are when I log in to multiple different accounts. Because as you know, when you log into multiple accounts, one account could look different than the other account. And then I use, I really like to use LinkedIn feeds, like that new feature where they're giving you a daily rundown. We've just started using Feedly a little bit to kind of, get everything pooling in for content management mostly. I do a lot of reading, and I, catch as many blogs as I can, and I sign up for as many email newsletters that are relevant to my industry. I noticed that a lot of the tools that we use, since we're a virtual office, so we use like Asana, Constant Contact, obviously, and Slack and Hootsuite. And so I make sure that I sign in to receive emails from them, and they typically have a lot of good content as well.
And if I can pare down what both of you said and use my own experience, you got to do it yourself, and I know that a lot of our solution providers suffer from that Dr. Heal Thyself issue, which is, you got to promote your own business too. And I think one of the best ways to stay on top of promoting your business is by using social tools, because you're going to catch new things. And a couple of plugs that came in here. Tom, he uses blogs to keep on top of content changes, on top of technical changes, and John mentioned Social Media Examiner as the place he goes to. Tracy had a quick question about, can you mention those tools you use? Actually, I'm going to hold on that question, Colleen, because we're going to come back to that subject matter, and this actually fits to your question. Pamela, you asked about tools they use to manage social media, so that's actually a question we have built in. Let's go ahead and get to the next question here on the slide. Question number 3. What do your clients, your leads, need help with? What mistakes do you commonly see that equals an opening for you to discuss management of social media? So what do you look for in those clients, in those potential clients, those leads, that tells you I've got a chance to sell them? Let's start with Tracy.
We work with a lot of small businesses who maybe doesn't have a full-time marketing person, and I noticed that that's a nice little niche to offer social media management for them. So maybe they have, their salesperson that's supposed to be in charge of that, or their admin person, and they are just, some of them are a little bit savvy with tech and whatnot, and some of them aren't. And so they need help with basically everything. My clients need help with, from setup to content to analytics to, but I think that a lot of them it's strategy and know-how.
Aaron, same question. What opening do you see when you're discussing doing discovery with them? What do you look for that tells you you might have a chance to sell them?
Well, I tell you, it's usually that they're simply posting the wrong things to get attention, and they most of the time they've been in old school marketing mode, so they think, what would I put on the billboard? What would I put on the flyer? Okay, now I'm going to be on Facebook, and I'm just going to put that here, and nobody cares. They want fun, they want entertaining, they want. So the two things are, number one, I say, look, you're posting the wrong stuff. Your biggest fans in the world don't want to hear about your sale 3 days in a row. But at the same time, as I'm showing them that, fun, interesting, engaging content is what wins people over, the second thing I look for is the way they're presenting the content. And images are king. And I see a lot of businesses just kind of shuffling through the agreement pages on Facebook boosting. Like, let me just boost this event, and the picture's out of whack, and the logo's all crooked and stretched and pixeled. And so people just dump money into this stuff, and people's eyes look at these ads or these posts and just glaze right over them and don't even pay attention. So number one is too much selling, and I say right away, this is why people aren't paying attention to you. And then on the heels of that, I say, additionally, your posts should be visually driven, visually built, and grab the eyes.
Now, it
they
sounded
almost
like
never do either of those things.
Tracy, you were having a kind of amen. Do you have anything to add to
Well, another thing, yeah, I completely agree with the formatting issues. The networks change quickly, and so Facebook might like this size picture or that size picture the next day, or they want links, or they want longer posts, or then they don't want longer posts, and nobody really knows what it is unless you're using it on a regular basis or you're reading up on it. So I find that a lot. Another thing, just if you don't mind that I add, that I find a lot is a time suck. I've actually gotten a couple clients recently where they can do social media all day long. They know how to do it, but they just don't want to do it because they don't have the time. So they're finally coming around to realizing they need to outsource, and they're willing to pay. So that's always nice.
So I want to call out one of our attendees, Colleen, who just got the, up to this point, question comment of the day. She says, puppies and babies. Post puppies and babies. I love that. So a lot of comments. And what was that?
In nachos.
Yeah. You know, a lot of comments around the algorithms in Facebook and how you get around some of these, and kitties, David adds, cat photos and videos. You know, a lot of comments coming in here about the algorithm just keeping up with the percentage. How are you both? Is the proof in the pudding? Is ultimately you get some content out there and see what kind of results you get for the client?
The way I look at it is you have to make people feel in order to like, comment, or share. And if you're not getting your target market to feel something, and whatever you may think that works best for you, you know, happy, love, mad, anger, you know, laughing, whatever that is, that's what you should aim for. But in regards to making things go viral, you know, that's a formula I haven't hit yet.
And I do want to clarify that the puppies, kitties, and babies comment, that's obviously only appropriate if the business relates to that, of course. Let's go ahead and go into the next question here, because a lot of your questions, folks that are attending, will be covered through the webinar. So don't feel like I'm leaving you out. I do see them coming in. Question 4 for Aaron and Tracy. Who is your main target? So what are you looking for? If you're out there prospecting, who's your main target? Aaron, let's start with you.
For me, I really do, most of my social clients are clients that I have started to do other things for. Meaning I rarely lead with social, but I'm always quietly watching and listening as we execute an email plan, or they hire me for a few hours consult, or they come to my event and they ask questions afterwards. I'm always listening and looking for those clues. Most of the clients that I've had a lot of success doing social management are people that I'm already in motion with. Maybe I'm building their website or helping them get their website updated. And then those conversations happen naturally, you know, where they say, well, Facebook's killing me. You know, everyone in the world's winning online, and I can't seem to get anything done. And I say, hey, Facebook's a bear, and I just agree with them. You know, and so I don't do a whole lot of that, of bringing it out front. You know, who can I get interested in it, that kind of thing. That's, you know, probably enough there.
Yeah, I like that strategy. You know, I think you can find out a lot by just listening to what they say. Tracy, same question. Who are you looking for?
Anybody that wants to buy. No. Well, you know, the way I lead it off is it depends on what they come to me for. So typically people are coming to me, and honestly, I haven't really knocked on any doors since I've opened my business. I've just done a lot of social media. I've done, you know, some constant contact seminars, sent out emails, you know, that whole typical inbound marketing. And so if they're coming to me for email, you know, that's a no-brainer, and I think that everybody that's a constant contact solutions provider has a perfect in with people, because, you know, you start on email and it's like, hey, these are some tips and tricks that you can do through social, and I can help you out by, you know, setting up your accounts and maintaining them and whatnot. And then if they're coming in from a website product, so we just started doing well, we've always done websites, but we just started actually actively doing websites. And then I attack them from the SEO point of view. So it's like, okay, well, you have a website, so you should be using social, you should be using your listings to make sure that you're popping up on the search engine results.
And just a quick comment to everybody, we are going to be covering packages and pricing, and a lot of you are posting those questions. I do want to talk a little bit about categories, so verticals. Tom brought up the fact that he finds businesses that are B2C, direct to consumers, work best. Food is a really good industry for him. Any experience you've had, have you had enough of a pool of clients where you've seen that particular verticals help you more than others when it comes to social media? We'll start with Aaron.
I'm not sure that I have enough evidence that one is more than the other, but I can be for sure sold that B2C is a little bit easier. You know, when you have that, B2B is its own weird bubble where people, it's not the same kind of buying mode, it's not the same kind of business and services versus product versus tangible. But I would say businesses that are willing to get a little bit more creative are the ones that work. And I've had some businesses that were really dry, and almost for fun, we tried to get a little crazy, and they responded. So I think Facebook users are Facebook users. Everybody's hiding behind their phone at the end of the day, and they're all kind of the same. So anything can be had if you do it properly.
Tracy, same question. So any verticals you've noticed that were particularly appropriate for selling SMM?
I think definitely B2C works better. But we have both now. We have struggled in the past with B2B customers, like construction companies on social and things like that. And like Aaron says, it is in the creative. You have a good creativity or creative team. You can basically pull anything out of somebody. But that again comes down to knowing your target market, knowing what's going to make them feel something and make them do something. And I've always stayed away from restaurants because they don't seem to like to pay that much. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to go down that vertical. So, for me, it depends on how they're coming in. What are they interested in? Sometimes, because we write blogs, SEO-friendly blogs as well. So sometimes, they're coming in on that end. And so it just has to be the right fit for the customer, and they have to be willing to pay you what you're worth.
You just got an amen regarding restaurants from Wilma. I want to go back to something that Aaron said, which was, talking about engagement and creativity, and Tracy, you said the very similar thing. Have either of you found, and this is my experience, so I don't know where you're going to go with this, but my experience in talking to people about email marketing is a natural bridge to social media marketing, because if you can get somebody to understand the concept of engagement and why we need that click and why we need that behavior, it's kind of a natural way to then position them to talk about why we need to get engagement on social media rather than, as Tracy said, just throwing up price. Tracy, have you had experience with that, or have you found that true out in the market?
In regards to convincing
if you can get them to understand the importance of engagement in email marketing, is it a natural bridge to get them to understand then the importance of engagement on social media marketing?
I think so. I think it is a natural bridge. I think once you explain that we're looking for opens, we're looking for click-throughs, and that's how we judge things and we make our content better. If they can understand that basic formula and concept, that can apply to every single thing you're doing online. So,
Aaron, same question. You using engagement in email marketing to bridge into social media marketing? He might have muted himself. All right, well, we'll take that as a good bridge into the next question then, and we'll just have to hold off that. I did see your question come in, Michelle, about the size of their... Thanks you. Well, it's all right. We'll go ahead and move into the next question, Aaron. And by the way, I do see questions about the size of your teams. We'll get into that when we come into pricing and time management, and that's coming up pretty soon. Question 5. How do you overcome a potential client saying they'll handle the social piece? So they're going to hire you to do email marketing, or they're going to hire you to do SEO, they're going to hire you to do content, they want to do the social media marketing. Have you ever had that? Let's go ahead and start with Tracy.
Well, I always think that if they can do that, that's great. So if you can do your own social media marketing, you have the time, the know-how, and everything set up properly for that, that's great. But typically what I'll tell them is that, my company is staying up to date on what's happening in the marketplace. Technology is changing by the second, and we have a creative team. So that's kind of how I tackle it. But I never push. I'm like, hey, if you're a dead no, then okay, not a problem for me. You'll come back eventually when you're ready.
Aaron, same question. How do you handle people that say they'll do it themselves? And let me actually frame this, maybe help Aaron and Tracy jump back in. What I'm really looking for is, hey, and in your heart they're not going to do it right. So, Aaron, how do you handle that?
That's the second part of my answer. The first is, like Tracy, I don't fight them. But
not Fight Club.
The thing is though, then I say to them, well, you know about everything since Hummingbird, right? And then they say, oh, what do you mean Hummingbird? And I go, well, since Hummingbird 4 or 5 years ago, all the Google algorithms for SEO take into account social media pages, and Facebook is actually the #1 social media that it reads. So, good luck that you're going to go do that by yourself. But, yesterday you were telling me that you have a miserable website SEO ranking, no, you don't have good SEO, you don't have visitors, you don't have traffic, you don't have ranking, and understanding now that Facebook and these social sites that you've set up and connected are basically tipping the scales against you, I'm not sure you want to handle that if you're really looking for some explosive growth.
Now, I just got a question or a comment in from John, and I want to kind of go into this thread. It's talking about the fact that a lot of small business out there, because Facebook is quote unquote free, they assume that it's easy to do. How do you address that when they're used to using a tool that share family photos or comments on whatnot? How do you get them to understand that they need to pay to actually see results? Let's start with Tracy.
I think the way I would look at that is, you're hiring a professional, somebody that's trained, and we may not be, the complete guru or not, but we're getting to know your business. We want to put out the right content. We want to format that in the right way. We're looking at analytics on a regular basis. It's a lot more time consuming than they think it's going to be. And if they're going to try to do that on their own, A, is it going to get done? And B, how much time is that taking them versus hiring somebody that can do it a lot quicker because because they're in the marketplace.
Aaron, same question. So how do you convince them, hey, it's not actually free?
Well, I say, for a couple of years, everything was wonderful, and we were all in the honeymoon stage until 2011, and we were complaining even while we were in the honeymoon stage. Facebook pages were the new thing. You post on your page, and you get a 90% view rate. Incredible. And we were bitching about it back then. Oh gosh, this new thing we got to do. It's too hard. It's too time consuming. But so nowadays you've got a situation where you post and it's 5 to 10% visibility rate. So I say, listen, this is too big of a piece for you to simplify. There's 1.8 billion people on the internet, and there's 1.6 billion registered Facebook accounts. So Facebook, it may seem simple when you're looking at your grandkids' pictures, but I can assure you that billions of dollars of business are happening as a result of Facebook. And you don't want to just be a me too. You want to get front and center and get people's attention in the right way. And that takes a little bit of discretion, and it takes some finesse.
Well, two things I do when I'm in front of a group are, I want to throw millennials under the bus, but generally most of the small businesses and nonprofits I work with generally going to be in the baby boomer set, maybe just a little younger, and most of them have used or understand the concept of traditional media. And what I ask them is, why did we have to pay an ad salesperson for newspaper? Why did we have to pay for somebody to do video production? Well, back in the day, because they couldn't do it themselves. And I said, also, weren't you paying that expert to help you guide that marketing? And they're like, yeah. Well, the same things happen. The tool is technically free, but you still need professional guidance to actually get results. Have either of you used that kind of example?
I haven't yet, Matthew, but thank you. I'm now going to.
You'll get nods from people. They really understand the concept of why they used to have to pay for it.
One example that I do use, though, I throw out virtual reality a lot. So I'm like, well, the market is going to like Autobots and virtual reality, and at some point you're going to be able to go on your website, put these goggles on, and just like pretend like you're really shopping in Target and pick up this and look at it and have all this information about it and then set it down, and then they're going to cash out through your shopping cart. That's going to happen, and I like to throw that out there just to kind of give them a little fear factory. But that always seems to work too. And they're like, oh, yes, I know. I have to, keep up with the times.
I'm going to go into the next question, but do know, everybody, I see a lot of questions. I got some from Joe and Gloria. I got something from Tom, technical. I do see those, and I'm going to do my best to get those, but I'm trying to keep things kind of somewhat on topic, so just forgive me. Let's go ahead and get into question 6. And this is going to be, what are common mistakes you see them make? So when they're doing it themselves, what do you see them do? And then we'll ask some follow-up questions to that. Let's start with Aaron. Pretty obvious answer I'm thinking here, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's inconsistency, incorrectly or too much promotion, and not visually driven. And from that they get tumbleweed on their news feed. That's really the way I see it.
Tumbleweed. Tracy, same question. What do you see them making?
I would have to agree with Aaron. I think mostly it's formatting and then strategy. So there are a lot of people that will just be putting out promotions, sell, buy, And sometimes it's just really basic, like they have a long link in there that looks horrible and it's not populating the picture. So it's really simple things, but it makes them look like they're not social media savvy.
Now, how do you, and we'll start with Tracy on this one, how do you overcome objections to those best practices? You're trying to convince them to follow best practices, to boost, or do whatever you're trying to get them to do, and they just don't see the light. They want to continue just posting, their sale. How do you overcome that?
I like to use the formula of your content should be 50% entertaining, 30% educational, and then 20% promotional. And I like to use the example of the sales guy that and every single time you talk to him, he comes up and he's trying to sell you something. So you see him in the local grocery store and he's coming your way and you want to run.
Mm-hmm. Aaron,
Exactly.
same follow-up question there. How do you try to convince them when they're objecting to you guiding them?
Well, I don't usually push back after that. I usually let time do my work, and a few weeks later or a month later, when they still have tumbleweeds on the news feed and they look at me with that look, I say, I tried to help.
Tom brought up a great comment here. He says, show other clients successful posts. Show the proof is in the pudding. Terry and Linda want Tracy to repeat her secret sauce, that percentage. They were writing it down.
I think I picked that up from a Constant Contact seminar, by the way. So it's not a secret, but we're looking at 50% entertaining posts, 30% educational posts, and then 20% promotional posts.
And let's not be those pushy salespeople, right? Let's get into question 7. Question 7. All right, this is the one everybody's been waiting for. Pricing. How do you price this stuff out? Tracy, we're going to start off with you.
Well, I've actually been struggling with pricing throughout the years because I've always wanted to be affordable for small businesses, but then I grew and I've put a lot more thought, a lot more people in the mix of what we're creating for content, and so my expenses grew, and then I get yelled at by my project manager all the time. She's like, you need to charge more, it's just business. And I'm like, I don't want to. But so we have clients that are paying us like $75 a month all the way up to $2,500 a month. But I would say I think an easy way to price it out is to price it out by like the network on what you're managing, because you never really know what you're going to pop up from there. So we typically charge a flat fee of, base for $250 to manage a Facebook page. And I know in the marketplace that that's low. So I really need to, up my pricing. But again, I'm looking at making money. So, and that's everything soup to nuts. So we're creating the content, we're publishing it, we're moderating, we're looking at analytics, so on and so forth.
And I do want to clarify, would you, Tracy, describe your geographic region?
I live in the state of Maine. And so basically we have a very large state, but a very small population in comparison. So so we have like little tribes of people throughout the state.
And I only clarify that just because, we have folks from all over the world on this webinar, and,
Right.
I do want to clarify your pricing may be also reflective of where you live. And Aaron, one might assume you'd have the same issue being in the Carolinas, but you've got some pretty big metros here. But I'll get to that follow-up in a second. Let's first just talk about your pricing. What do you charge?
Sure. And yes, I say Asheville, but I'm actually south of a little tiny town called Brevard that about 6,000 people live in. So I feel that it's definitely, I got to go stretch and reach to get to the bigger groups of people for sure. I usually come at $500 per month. Not that I'm attached to that, but because I want to see how they react. I also look carefully at what they have in place. If somebody's got a LinkedIn and a Twitter and a Facebook and it's been used before and managed and I'm picking it up on the run, then I can tell them, $500 or $700 for both. It also depends on content. There are business owners who say, I don't have the time for this, but I have 2 to 3 good ideas a week. Can I just send them to you? and I say, hallelujah, great. You know, we're gonna tag team this in a virtual way without losing any time, and it doesn't cost me as much time, and so I might not charge all the way up for that type of a thing. I do want to mention, though, again, I'm not the person that when somebody says, well, what do you do? I say, oh, well, you know, we manage Facebook for $500 a month. What I do is I qualify it often in the larger conversation. So a perfect example is this past year I had a client who I was already doing all their email marketing, including content. I was posting their blogs on their website. I then became their web manager. And then after a while, they were pretty good on their Facebook, doing it themselves, but they were starting to lag and leave holes. And so I basically said to this client, listen, you're hurting the overall situation. You're doing great when you're doing it, but then you're getting quiet and losing the algorithm, and then I'm posting things that are different than what you're posting, and it's getting crazy. So I said to this client, look, you're paying me $1,200 already. Let's bump this to $1,500 and just let me run Facebook, and then you send me things that you come up. So even though that was only a $300 increase, it helped me. It helped them. It wasn't that much more money for them, but then you know what it helped? It helped the overall operation, because then I had a synchronized approach to what was going on Facebook, what was going on LinkedIn, what was going on the blog, and what was going on email. So it's a little bit of a holistic thing for me.
So I got a big slew of questions here from one attendee. I'm going to try to break it, Terry, into a couple of pieces because I do want to get into the next questions. But Terry was curious about a la carte. Do you either of you do a la carte? So per post, per project. Well, not project per se, but per activity.
It really depends on what a la carte is. Like we did a opera house performance. That was just a couple months of stuff. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying like, hey?
I'm wondering if what she means is, do you just they just want you to do so a short campaign a la carte. So not a big package. Just hey, we need some help with the live. They're going to do something live, and they need some help with that.
I'll let Aaron answer that.
Yes, I do. For all my talk about qualifying everybody to death, I actually fill about 25% of my income like a Swiss Army knife, where people come and they go, I need help with these two things. And I go, let's knock them out. So that works great for me because it does supplement that income where some people might not be able to pay the higher price tag. Example, a liquor store running most of the liquor distribution in upstate South Carolina. They just want one Facebook list building Facebook campaign per month with a giveaway to build emails. They can do a drawing. They have a picture taken, and then the picture gets syndicated out onto email and social after showing the winner. And we've now done this 9 months in a row, and there's no contract, there's no anything. I just say, hey, here's a couple of hours of work I spent. Here's my rate. Here's the e-invoice, and they pay me the $180, and I say, see you next month.
A couple of questions along this line have come in, which is, you ever give a taste for free? You ever give them a little bit of social media attention, a little work to hopefully get that pump flowing and they start to spend money with you?
I don't
Tracy,
typically do that.
Yeah. Tracy?
Yeah, I don't typically do anything like that because there's so much work involved. Like you have to get in, you have to set up, you have to get their passwords and their admins, and then it's looking at, what we look at is, what's your username? Is everything set up properly? And that's all part of the setup. So I'd rather have a commitment. But on the other note is all of our contracts are, you can give us a 30-day written notice and you're out. So we don't sign people up, which is against most of the market professionals' way of doing business. So,
Aaron, you give them a taste?
I only give a taste when I'm trying to sell like Constant Contact. Like I'll say, hey, thanks for coming, and make sure you've got web, social, and email in order. That's your whole world. In a circle, and if you sign up for Constant Contact, I'll help you get it connected through to your Facebook page if you need to, and so I do those types of extra bridging actions, because then that keeps the conversation going, and people usually end up wanting to hire me after I do one or two things. But I don't spend time, burn up time. We're talking about a 10-minute thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of negative reaction to the giving the taste. Tracy?
I was just going to say, yeah, I do a lot of that, a lot of connecting. I answer questions, on the fly. People are messaging me through Facebook, and they just have a simple question. For instance, an associate of mine who lived in Maine, moved to Florida, had a question about just basic, overall strategy. And I said, hey, give me a call. And she gave me a call, and I gave her the rundown of what I think, basically a strategy 101 within 30 minutes. But, I'll do that all day long because I know it's going to come back to me. Whether that person's going to buy from me or they're talking to somebody else who actually is going to buy from me, I know it's going to come back.
Now, a couple of things. I'm gonna ask two more questions from the audience to you on the packaging and pricing part of this, and then we'll get in a little bit further. But I do want to stress to everybody, make sure you continue this conversation, both questions and many of you have given a lot of best practices. Make sure you share that on community. I'm going to share that link again with you at the end. Obviously, there's just so much to talk about around this subject matter. I can't cover it all today. But if you have questions that I didn't get to, and there's going to be some, and if you have some comments and best practices, share them there. That's going to be the place we're going to be going after this. But I do have a question from Michelle about giving too much information. They build a proposal, they do all this groundwork, and then somebody else goes and does it. How much is too much when you're building a proposal? Tracy.
When I do my proposals, of course, we've worked on this over the years as well. I don't give out strategy. I know other companies do, but I don't. Not at this point. That may change in the future because it depends. But I don't do strategy. I say this is what we're actually doing, whether copywriting, graphic design. I keep it completely to the marketing end of it. And this is like the minimum post because they always like to see minimum posts. So I say minimum posts with our discretion, so on and so forth. So I think that's the easiest way to go about it. Because if people will come and pay $5,000 for strategy, so you don't want to give that away in your proposal.
And the second question I'm going to throw to Aaron, which is coming from Terry. Terry lives in a pretty metro area. A lot of marketers there trying to stay competitive. How do you feel about lowering your prices to stay competitive? You've got Charlotte there. You've got Greensboro. You've got Raleigh Durham. Pretty large markets. How do you stay competitive?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure I have an answer for that one, especially not being, I do have some large cities that are a couple hours away. I really am constantly checking and rechecking. And I know it's kind of a non-answer, but it so comes down to what happens when I have a conversation with somebody. If my bells are going off that this person's going to be a time suck, and they're going to complain and demand results, and they don't understand what it is they're hiring me for, then I'm gonna back away. I don't care if they said it's $1,000 they're going to pay me. I don't want that 1,000 because I don't want the headaches. So I don't usually price based on the market. I used to. I don't anymore.
And Joe brought up a great comment here. One of our solution providers: modify the offering. Don't change the price. Just modify what you're offering. Might take you a little bit more time, but don't cut yourself short. Let's get to question 8. Question 8, do you always offer by paid posts, paid tweets? Do you always offer that in your package? Let's start with Aaron.
I'm doing tons of it this year. I talk it up. I focus more on Facebook. In fact, y'all, what's really funny is I'm doing 4 or 5 full-blown Facebook paid ad campaigns for companies, and I'm not even the one managing their page.
Huh. Really?
So, I think people are just so hungry and desperate for that traffic and that action and that activity to come back to their Facebook page or to even get there in the first place. And people want leads, when they hire, I'm sure every marketer on this call knows, what's my ROI on this? And every client just likes to demand to know the ROI and track everything. And so, when somebody says Facebook, I say, for sure. And they go, well, what should I post? And I go, well, are you talking about how to build an audience, or are you talking about how to generate leads? So I've done just half a dozen at least, and I'm still in motion on 4 targeted campaigns for a whole variety of different businesses with forms for people to fill out, pixels, tracking pixels, which is really building a custom list to remarket to. And I think that's really where the juice is. If you can get to people that have the money and the open-mindedness, and they're willing to spend a little bit, and you produce the results, then you've got a client on autopilot.
Tracy, same question. Do you always offer the paid?
I always put it out there, but currently we're more of the content marketing, and we haven't necessarily tied in the paid with the content marketing, simply because we've always had the client pay from their own account. But we're kind of in the spot where paid has to be part of it. It has to be, because people are not seeing the same results as they are unless they're paying.
How do you overcome the discussion around paid, Tracy?
Maybe I'm still working on that, Matthew. But yeah, so it depends, because sometimes I don't want to cut myself off from the stuff that I want to do with the client, you know, to have them pay an extra $100, $200 for the Facebook if I know that it's not like completely relevant. But in regards to the overcoming the objection is I basically go back to the history, like Aaron was saying, you know, back in the day when everybody was in that honeymoon phase, you're getting a lot of reach, you're getting a lot of engagement, because there was no, because Facebook wasn't money hungry, but now Facebook is, because they have to make money just like everybody else, and so they want you to pay, and they have a lot of different avenues to advertise, and I think, you know, it makes sense for people to take advantage of those. And it's relatively inexpensive compared to broadcast or, you know, newspaper.
Yeah, you can get a great ROI on it, and I think you just alluded to a tactic I use, which is, you know, getting people to understand that Facebook is a marketing vehicle. They need to understand that first and foremost, and, you know, they need to understand. They probably in the back of their head do, but, you know, it's a publicly traded company. They sell eyeballs. It's very clear what they do, but a lot of small business and nonprofits don't understand that. They just don't understand. There's just this thing, you post pictures of your grandma. I'm like, no, this is an advertising company, and the more you invest in it, the better your results. But let's get to question 9. Question 9 is, how do you manage your time? This has been a slew of questions around this from everybody. So how do you manage your time? We'll start with Tracy. There's a lot of stuff on your plate. How do you manage it?
Well, I have other people do it, Matthew. So I've actually kind of cheated the system here. So I have a team of freelancers that work only on billable hours for me. It's my company. I'm an LLC, and I pay 1099s out to these people. But I always work long term with my freelancers. It's not like I'm, you know, hiring somebody from Upwork or something like that. So we have a pretty good system. We're constantly, you know, revising it, trying to be more efficient, trying to make sure that it's working for them, for me, for the client. But when I used to do it, which I did when I started out, I used to do it all by myself, do my constant contact emails, do my social media marketing, and I just, you know, made sure that I had some reliable online resources for that client, that I could find information quickly, and then I used Hootsuite to pre-schedule typically on a weekly basis, and then that way I could just monitor through the apps throughout the week.
Aaron, same question. How are you doing all of this?
Two things I do. I'm a ritualistic, so I've got, you know, I'm only handling it for just a certain clients. So I don't wake up and I have to come up with stuff for 10 channels. I'm just doing a handful at the most. It's usually the same time every day, and it is built into my calendar, and it does have alert reminders that I can thumb off on my phone when they come up if I haven't done it by then. So nice safety net there. And then the other side of it is just like Tracy. You know, you be smart and use tools. She's using Hootsuite. I used to use Hootsuite, love it. I use Sharist, helps me to set up and pre-schedule and pre-post certain things. And of course, Facebook and, you know, these channels all have now, they're starting to build, you know, schedule for later and that kind of stuff. So we're working smart, not hard.
And a couple of comments came in. First, actually, just somebody wanted to clear. Sharist, is that what you said? Sharist?
Yes. Share, the word is share, and then IST.
Sharist.
And it is a content snipper, content saver, content aggregator, and editor and publisher all in one.
And there was a question, now that you say content, I wanted to get back to that somebody did post on community, which is content. What do you charge for content development, Aaron?
I don't charge by content development, but if somebody says, hey, I really want you to run my channel and we have all these good ideas, but we need somebody to be the hands, I might say $500. If they say, hey, I need somebody to finish my Facebook page, start posting on it, build a following, and come up with all the content ideas and show me, and I can tell you which ones I like, then I might say, okay, that sounds like a $750 conversation.
Mm-hmm. Tracy, similar experience?
Yeah, basically, we have some clients that are very low maintenance. You know, we go on, we create their content, we publish it. We never have any type of feedback from them, which for us, as long as we know the brand really well, we're happy with that. We have other clients that are, everything we post is like, okay, well, that's not exactly the spin I would take. And we're like, and then we have other clients where they want to see everything pre-approved, you know, month to month, and you can't change anything. So it really depends on the client and what the conversation is, you know, money-wise.
So I do want to get to our last question, and I'm trying to wedge some time in for Q&A, everybody. But the last question, we have some folks on the call today. Most of you are current solution providers, but we do have some folks on the call today who are interested in becoming a solution provider. And for them, and even for our current solution providers, I mean, one thing I'll say to everyone is if you're looking for additional arms, make sure you look through your solution provider network. Make sure you're working on community. There might be somebody, let's say SEO is not your you know, in your wheelhouse. Well, there probably is a solution provider that is in their wheelhouse, but maybe you can collaborate on something else. So keep in mind, your solution provider network might be a great place for you to turn. But I do want to, just for those new folks and even some of our newer solution providers those, that are on the call, what's the main value you've seen as a Constant Contact solution provider, Aaron?
It's actually really simple. Constant Contact won me over as a client. They made me feel a certain way. And I later was won over as a solution provider because I wanted to be able to have that brand connected to me. So it's really the ability to leverage like a very trusted brand. It's a conversation starter. It brings people's guard down, and it's just brought me tons of business.
Tracy?
I'm going to have to agree with Aaron. Constant Contact is a great brand to be connected with. I think that a lot of the small business owners when you say the name, they know exactly what it is. Maybe, well, they don't know exactly what it is, but they know what it is. I think that a lot of the businesses and nonprofits like to have a local Constant Contact solutions provider available to them to answer any tech issues, branding issues, strategy, you know, price quoting, things like that. And so I've just been really happy with Constant Contact, and I've actually networked. I've been down to Mass a couple of times. I've been to OneCon when they used to do that. And I really love the people that work there, and I like networking with other solutions providers to hear what their stories are and, you know, how can I integrate that strategy into my business. So I've learned a lot from today's discussion, actually.
Well, hopefully everybody has. And speaking of learning, if you're not familiar with our 12-week of business program, right now we're in the middle of the 12 weeks of business. You can earn points towards some fantastic sweepstakes entries. In fact, everybody listening to my voice today, you just earned 4 points. You just earned 4 points. Congratulations. Attending today's webinar got you 4 points. So there you go. What do you win in the sweepstakes? All sorts of things. We've got computers. We've got iPads. We've got a lot of things to help you. Make sure you visit constantcontact.com/12weeks. As a reminder, I think I've beat this horse to death. Hey, there's a lot of comments, a lot of great questions, and a lot of suggestions here in this chat window. I'm going to try to copy and paste what I can into community, but I encourage you to continue this discussion. Go to community, join the discussion, and share. With that, we've got about 2 minutes left for Q&A. Hopefully, we've answered a lot of questions during the webinar, but I do have a few that we'll just throw out to wrap up today's webinar, and then we'll go ahead and let everybody go. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the social media email connection here. Do you find that social media is kind of killing your discussion to sell email, Aaron?
No, not at all. In fact, the whole internet exists in either one of three places. Everything is either a web page, everything is either a social media channel, or an email address. So in terms of marketing, you could actually draw a circle around website, social, and email as three places. Process of elimination says that your prospects and clients are not going to go to your website for no reason. Process of elimination says social is volatile. It's a game you should always play, but you have no control over. So that algorithm changed from 90% to 5 or 10%, and everybody woke up and said, oh, just deal with it. So what's left standing? Email is a 90% deliverability rate. So process of elimination says, draw a whole circle around the internet, and if you're not doing email, you're actually almost walking along without any legs.
And Tracy, last question for you is going to be around conversion. So one solution provider on the call today said they're constantly posting content to the business page, but they're having difficulty converting them. Any quick tidbits of suggestion there?
Well, I guess what the question is, what are they trying to convert them to? Are they trying to make them?
Well, I think it's for their own business, for their solution provider business. So they're getting a lot of interaction, but they're not getting conversions.
Oh, for me, it's a matter of answering questions, putting yourself out there, making sure that you're not only posting to your business page, you're posting to your personal pages, you're putting out those emails of your own. I get a lot of people, obviously email works. I sent out an email about websites not too long ago, and I got a client right off the bat where they're like, I was just thinking about that. So, and then you have to make sure that you have the clicks and the call to actions to make people convert. Make sure you have
great comment. Great comment in here. Use those autoresponders in email. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Just wanted to piggyback one thing. 6 months ago, Facebook allowed business pages to direct message people who have commented on a post or an ad of theirs. This was never available before. If you want to know how to convert those people that are engaging your posts, ask questions that cause them to comment, and as soon as they comment, there's a new button underneath them that says message next to the reply button, and when you click message, you're able to start a private direct message with them on Facebook, and that was not doable before.
And then I had a question come in. I'm going to go ahead and tackle, and we'll make this a final question. Somebody brought in, how do you overcome the MailChimp question, which is directly more towards email than social media, but I'll go ahead and suggest two things to you. The person asked that question. One is refer to the webinar I did about 4 months ago. I did a whole webinar on competition, particularly MailChimp. But the reason why I tackled this question is because it fits into a lot of the threads of what we talked about today, which is it may be free, but it's not. Time is money, and what good does it take to use a tool that takes you 3 times longer to use if it's free? Ultimately, it's not free. But with that, I do want to thank everybody. I know your time is precious. Speaking of time, firstly, thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate your time today, guys.
Thank you, Matthew. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a bunch.
And I did not plan this, but I got some great accents today from Tracy in Maine and Aaron in the Carolinas, so that worked out great. Hey, I want to thank you, our Solution Provider Network, from the bottom of our heart. Your success is our success. We want to do everything and anything we can to help you be successful. Make sure you're communicating on community. Make sure you're talking to your account manager. We will help you grow. We can only help you as much as you reach out and connect to us, so make sure you're doing that. With that, we did record today's webinar. We will get a copy to everybody, and with that, have a great day, everybody. Thanks.